Hello and welcome to our podcast. My name is Emma and I'm here with Max.
Hey everyone, we are excited to help you use English at work more effectively. Whether you're working in an office, a shop, or any other place, learning how to use English confidently at work is super important.
That's right, English is the language of many businesses around the world. But sometimes it can feel a bit tricky to use English at work, especially when you're just starting. Today, we want to help make that easier for you. We'll focus on how you can communicate well in everyday work situations.
Yes, and to begin with, let's talk about how to greet people and introduce yourself at work. This is something we do every day, right?
Exactly. So let's start with something simple. Imagine you're starting a new job and you meet someone for the first time. What's a good way to greet them?
You could say something like, "Hi, I'm Max, it's nice to meet you." If you want to be a bit more formal, you can say, "Hello, my name is Max, it's a pleasure to meet you." These are simple, polite ways to introduce yourself.
That's a great point. Being polite is very important in the workplace. After introducing yourself, you might want to ask something like, "How are you today?" Or "How is your day going?" It helps to show that you are friendly and interested in the other person.
And if someone asks you how you are, a good answer could be, "I'm good, thanks." How about you? This keeps the conversation going and shows that you are engaged.
Yes, and keeping the conversation going is key. Another common thing at work is small talk. Small talk means having short conversations with people about everyday things like the weather, weekend plans, or hobbies.
Right, let's say you're at work and you want to make small talk with a colleague. You could say, "It's a nice day today, isn't it?" Or "Do you have any plans for the weekend?" These questions are easy to answer and help build a good relationship with your co-workers.
Small talk can feel a bit awkward at first, but it's a great way to get to know people. And remember, small talk is usually short, just a minute or two before you move on to your work.
Yes, speaking of work, another important part of using English at work is giving and receiving instructions. Let's talk about that next.
Good idea. At work, you often need to give instructions to others or follow instructions from your boss or a coworker. For example, if your manager asks you to do something, they might say, "Can you please send this email?" Or "Could you finish this report by the end of the day?"
And if you're not sure what they mean, it's okay to ask questions. You can say, "Could you please explain that again?" Or "I'm not sure I understand. Can you clarify?" Asking for help is better than making a mistake.
Exactly. It's important to feel confident about asking questions when something is unclear. And when you're giving instructions, try to be as clear as possible. You could say something like, "Please send this file to the client," or "Could you check this document for any mistakes?"
That's really useful. Clear communication makes everything easier for everyone. Also, when giving instructions, it's polite to say please and thank you. For example, "Please send me the report by 5 p.m. or "Thank you for finishing that task on time."
Yes, being polite and respectful makes a big difference at work. And when you receive instructions, it's good to respond. You could say, "Sure, I'll get that done," or "No problem, I'll handle it." It shows that you are listening and ready to help.
And sometimes you may not be able to do something right away. In that case, you can say, "I'm working on another task right now. Can I do this afterward?" This way, you're still being respectful, but you're also letting them know what's possible.
Exactly. Clear and polite communication helps you build good relationships with your coworkers and managers. Now, another big part of using English at work is writing emails. Emails are a huge part of many jobs.
Oh yes, emails are very important. When writing a work email, you want to be polite and professional. Start with a greeting like, "Dear Mr. Smith," or "Hi Sarah." If it's a more formal situation, "Dear" is better. For a casual or friendly email, "Hi" works well.
And don't forget to introduce the purpose of your email. You could say, "I'm writing to ask about," or "I'd like to discuss." This helps the person reading your email know why you are contacting them right away.
Yes, being clear and direct is important. And when you end an email, you can say something like best regards or kind regards. It's polite and leaves a good impression.
Definitely. Another tip for writing good emails is to always check your spelling and grammar. It's easy to make small mistakes, but taking a moment to review your email before sending it makes you look more professional.
That's a good point, Emma. Proofreading your emails shows that you care about your work and that you're paying attention to details.
Yes, and remember, writing in English can feel hard at first, but with practice, you'll get better and more confident. Just take your time and think about what you want to say.
Absolutely, and it's okay to ask a coworker or a friend to check your email if you're not sure about something. People usually appreciate that you want to do your best.
Right, so now we've talked about introductions, small talk, giving instructions, and writing emails. These are some of the basic ways you'll use English at work every day.
And there's still more to explore when it comes to using English effectively at work, but we'll dive deeper into that next time.
Yes, there's plenty more to cover, and we can't wait to continue helping you feel more confident using English at work.
Exactly, it's all about practice and taking small steps. Keep listening, and we'll keep guiding you through more useful tips. So, last time we covered some important things like introducing yourself, making small talk, and giving instructions. Today, let's dive deeper into communication at work. A big part of that is how to handle meetings. Emma, how do you feel about meetings at work?
Meetings can be a little stressful, but they're also a great opportunity to communicate with your team and share ideas. And of course, using the right English can make you feel more confident in those meetings.
Absolutely. One of the first things to know about meetings is how to ask and answer questions. Let's say you're in a meeting and you didn't understand something. It's important to ask for clarification without feeling embarrassed. You could say something like, "Sorry, I didn't catch that. Could you please repeat it?" Or "I'm not sure I understand. Could you explain it again?"
Yes, asking questions in a meeting shows that you're engaged and want to understand better. It's much better to ask than to stay quiet and feel confused later. And when you answer questions, you want to be clear and direct. For example, if someone asks your opinion, you could say, "In my opinion, we should," or "I think we should." It's important to use polite language while sharing your thoughts.
Right, and don't forget to listen carefully. Good communication isn't just about talking, it's also about listening. You might hear someone say, "What do you think about this proposal?" Or "Do you have any feedback?" If you're not sure how to respond, it's okay to take a moment to think before answering.
That's such a good point. You don't have to rush your response. If you need time, you can say, "Let me think about that for a moment," or "That's a good question." I'd like to take a moment to think. It's better to take your time than to feel pressured to answer right away.
Yes, and once you're ready to speak, try to keep your answer clear and to the point. You can start with something like, "I believe the best option is," or "My suggestion would be too." This makes your ideas sound more organized. Another thing that comes up in meetings is agreeing or disagreeing with someone. How can you do that politely in English?
Great question. If you agree with someone, you can say, "I agree with you," or "That's a good point." It's always good to show support for other people's ideas. But if you disagree, it's important to be polite. You can say something like, "I see your point, but I think," or "That's an interesting idea, but I'm not sure if I agree because."
Exactly. You can disagree, but still be respectful. A good phrase to use is, "I understand your perspective, but have you thought about?" This way, you're sharing your opinion without being rude.
Yes, being polite is key in any professional environment. Now, sometimes in meetings, you may also need to give a presentation or share some information. That can be a bit scary for many people, especially if you're using English, right?
Definitely, but with a little preparation, you can do it confidently. If you have to give a presentation, it's good to start by introducing what you'll talk about. You can say something like, "Today, I'll be talking about," or "The purpose of this presentation is to."
And when you're explaining something, try to break it down into clear steps. For example, first, I'll explain the problem, then I'll talk about the solution. Finally, I'll show you some examples. This makes it easier for people to follow what you're saying.
That's a really helpful structure, and if you're feeling nervous, it's okay to take a deep breath and go at your own pace. Remember, the people listening want to hear what you have to say. You don't have to rush.
Yes, speaking slowly and clearly is very important, especially if you're speaking in a second language. And don't worry if you make small mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes, even native speakers. The important thing is that you are understood.
Exactly, and if you need to emphasize something, you can use phrases like, "The key point is," or "What's most important to remember is." This helps your listeners focus on the main ideas of your presentation.
That's a great tip. And when you're done with your presentation, it's good to invite questions. You can say, "Does anyone have any questions?" Or "I'd be happy to answer any questions you have."
Yes, and when you get questions, remember to stay calm and answer them clearly. If you don't know the answer, it's okay to say, "I'm not sure, but I can find out for you," or "I'll need to look into that and get back to you."
That's a very professional way to handle it. People appreciate honesty, and they'll respect you for being straightforward. Another part of workplace communication we should talk about is how to handle phone calls in English. Phone calls can sometimes feel harder than speaking face-to-face because you can't see the person.
Yes, phone calls can be challenging, but there are some simple phrases that can help you sound more confident. When you answer the phone at work, you can say, "Hello, this is Emma speaking. How can I help you?" It's a polite and professional way to start the conversation.
And if you're calling someone, you can introduce yourself by saying, "Hi, this is Max from company name. I'm calling about," or "I'm calling to discuss." This way, the person knows who you are and why you're calling.
Yes, and during the call, it's important to listen carefully. If you don't understand something, you can say, "Could you repeat that, please?" Or "I didn't catch that. Can you say it again?"
Good tip. Also, it's useful to have some phrases ready for ending a call. You could say, "Thank you for your time," or "I'll follow up with an email." It's always good to end a call in a polite way.
Yes, and remember, phone calls don't have to be long. It's okay to keep them short and to the point. The key is being polite and clear, just like in any other form of communication.
Absolutely. So far, we've covered a lot of ground. We've talked about meetings, presentations, and phone calls. But there's one more area that can be a little tricky when using English at work, and that's handling difficult situations.
Yes, dealing with difficult situations is a normal part of any job, but it's important to handle them professionally, especially in English. For example, if there's a problem with a coworker, you might need to talk about it. You could say, "I'd like to talk about something that's been bothering me," or "Can we discuss this issue?"
Yes, using calm and polite language is important. Even if you're upset, it's best to stay professional. For example, instead of saying, "You made a mistake," you could say, "There seems to be a problem with this task. Can we go over it together?"
That's a great way to handle it. It's also important to listen to the other person's side of the story. You could say, "I understand what you're saying, but here's how I see it." This shows that you're being respectful while expressing your point of view.
Exactly. Another tricky situation is when you have to give feedback to someone. Giving feedback can be difficult, but it's important to do it in a way that helps the other person improve. You can say something like, "I think you did a good job on this, but there's one area that could be improved."
Yes, positive feedback is just as important as pointing out areas for improvement. You can say, "I really liked how you handled this part of the project, but maybe next time we could try."
And when you receive feedback, it's important to take it positively. Even if it's criticism, try to see it as a way to improve. You can say, "Thank you for your feedback. I'll work on that."
That's a great attitude to have. Being open to feedback helps you grow and improve at work. And don't forget to say thank you when someone gives you feedback, even if it's something you need to work on.
Exactly. Being polite and professional, even in difficult situations, helps build better relationships at work. It shows that you respect your colleagues and are committed to working together.
Yes, and with practice, all of these things become easier. The more you use English in different work situations, the more confident you'll feel. You just need to keep practicing and don't be afraid to make mistakes.
Right, mistakes are part of learning, and the important thing is to keep trying. The more you practice, the more natural it will feel.
Absolutely. We've covered a lot today about handling meetings, presentations, phone calls, and even difficult situations at work. These are all essential skills to help you use English effectively.
Alright, so we've talked a lot about different work situations already: introductions, small talk, meetings, and even handling difficult situations. Now, in this part, we're going to focus on how to work well with a team and how to communicate effectively when collaborating with others. Emma, working in teams is a huge part of most jobs, right?
Oh yes, absolutely. No matter where you work, teamwork is essential. And being able to communicate well in English is a big part of working successfully with others. When you're part of a team, you need to make sure everyone understands their roles, responsibilities, and tasks. But sometimes things can get confusing if the communication isn't clear.
Exactly. So let's start with something simple: how to discuss tasks with your team. If you're working on a project with a group, it's important to ask questions to make sure you know what you're supposed to do. You could say, "What's my role in this project?" Or, "Can you explain my task for this part?"
Yes, and if you're assigning tasks to others, you can ask, "Can you take care of this part?" Or, "Would you be able to help with this task?" Being polite and clear about who is responsible for each task helps avoid confusion.
That's a great point. Clarity is key. You don't want people guessing what their responsibilities are, because that can lead to mistakes. And after the tasks are assigned, it's helpful to follow up with your team to make sure everything is going well. You could ask, "How's it going with your task?" Or, "Do you need any help with that?"
Right. Checking in with your teammates shows that you care about the project and that you're available to help. But be careful not to sound like you're micromanaging. You can ask, "Is there anything I can do to help?" Or, "Do you need any support with this?" This way, you're offering help without being pushy.
Exactly. It's all about offering support while still giving your teammates the space to do their work. Now, sometimes when you're working in a team, there can be disagreements or differences of opinion. It's important to handle these situations carefully. If you don't agree with someone's approach, you could say, "I see your point, but I think we could try something different," or, "That's a good idea, but maybe we could look at it another way."
Yes, being respectful even when you disagree is so important. Everyone in the team needs to feel like their opinions matter. If you just say, "No, that's wrong," it can upset your co-worker. Instead, try to find a way to express your thoughts politely. You could say, "I think we're looking for a different solution," or, "I understand what you're saying, but maybe we should consider this option."
That's a really good way to handle it. And sometimes you'll need to compromise. You won't always get your way, and that's part of teamwork. You might say, "I'm happy to go with your idea if it works for the team," or, "Let's try this approach and see how it goes." It's important to be flexible.
Exactly, flexibility is key, and being open to other people's ideas can make the team stronger. It shows that you're willing to work together to find the best solution. Now, let's talk a little bit about how to give feedback to your team members, which is another important part of teamwork.
Yes, giving feedback is a crucial skill. It helps everyone improve, but it can be tricky to give feedback without sounding too critical. A good way to start is with something positive. You could say, I think you did a great job with this, but maybe we could improve this part, or your work has been really good, but I have a few suggestions to make it even better.
That's a great way to give feedback. Starting with something positive helps people feel appreciated, and they'll be more open to hearing your suggestions for improvement. And when you're receiving feedback, try not to take it personally. You could say, "Thanks for the feedback. I'll work on that," or "I appreciate your advice. I'll try to improve in that area."
Yes, feedback is meant to help you grow, so it's important to listen and be open to it. Now, let's shift gears a little and talk about a big part of teamwork: collaborating on projects. When you work on a project with others, communication is everything. You need to make sure everyone knows what's happening, especially when things change.
That's so true. Communication is the glue that holds a project together. Let's say there's a change in the project, like a new deadline or a change in the task. You could say, "There's been a change to the deadline. We need to finish this by Friday," or "I've just been informed that we need to change our approach for this task."
Yes, keeping everyone informed is super important. And when you send updates, it's good to be clear and direct. For example, "Please note the new deadline," or "This is an important update about the project." It's helpful to make sure your teammates know that the information is important.
Yes, that way no one misses anything, and when you're working with a team, it's also important to ask for feedback throughout the project, not just at the end. You could ask, "How is everything going with your part of the project?" Or, "Is there anything we need to adjust as we move forward?"
That's a great idea. Regular check-ins keep the team on track and help avoid any surprises at the last minute. Now, something else we should talk about is how to deal with stress in a team. Sometimes projects can get stressful, especially when deadlines are tight. How do you think we should handle that, Emma?
That's a really important topic. When things get stressful, communication becomes even more important. If you're feeling stressed, it's okay to talk about it with your team. You could say, "I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed with this deadline. Can we discuss how to manage the workload?" Or, "I'm struggling with this task. Can anyone help?"
Yes, asking for help is really important. No one can do everything on their own, and part of being in a team is supporting each other. If someone else is stressed, you can offer to help by saying, "I know you're under pressure with this task. Can I take something off your plate?"
Exactly. And if you're managing a team, it's important to keep an eye on how everyone is feeling. You could ask, "How's everyone doing with the workload?" Or, "Does anyone need more time or help with their tasks?" Creating a supportive environment can really make a difference when things get tough.
Definitely. When the team feels supported, they're more likely to work well together, even under pressure. Now, let's talk about the final part of teamwork: celebrating success. When a project is finished, it's important to acknowledge the hard work that everyone has put in.
Yes, celebrating success is a great way to build team morale. You can say something like, "Great job, everyone. We did it." Or, "I'm really proud of the work we've done on this project." Recognizing your teammates' efforts makes them feel appreciated and valued.
Exactly. And even small wins should be celebrated. You could say, "Thanks for getting that done so quickly," or "You did an amazing job on this part of the project." Positive feedback doesn't just have to be for big achievements, it can be for the everyday tasks too.
Yes, and thanking people for their hard work really helps to create a positive work environment. You could say, "Thanks for your help on this," or "I really appreciate all the effort you've put in." It might seem like a small thing, but it can make a big difference in how people feel about their work.
Absolutely. So, we've talked a lot about teamwork, from assigning tasks to handling disagreements to celebrating success. All of these skills are important to help you use English effectively at work, especially when working with others.
Yes, and the more you practice these skills, the better you'll get at them. Whether you're working in a small team or a large one, good communication is always the key to success.
Definitely. And remember, communication in the workplace isn't just about talking. It's also about listening, supporting others, and being open to feedback. The more you practice these skills, the more confident you'll feel using English in your job.
Exactly, using English at work can feel challenging at first, but with practice it will get easier. Just remember to be clear, polite, and professional, and you'll do great.
Well, we've covered so much in this podcast series about how to use English effectively at work. From introductions to meetings, to teamwork and handling stress, we hope you've learned some valuable tips.
Yes, we hope this has been helpful for you, and we encourage you to keep practicing. The more you use English at work, the more confident you'll become. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Every mistake is a chance to learn and improve.
And remember, the more you practice, the more natural it will feel to use English in your daily work. Whether it's giving a presentation, talking on the phone, or working with your team, each experience helps you improve.
Exactly, and don't forget to stay patient with yourself. Learning a language takes time, but every day you're getting better. Just keep practicing, and soon enough, you'll feel confident speaking English at work in any situation.
That's right. We've covered so many important topics in this podcast. Let's do a quick recap of what we've talked about. We started with how to introduce yourself and make small talk at work, which is a great way to connect with your colleagues. Then we moved on to giving clear instructions and how to participate in meetings.
Yes, and we also covered how to give presentations, handle phone calls, and ask for clarification when you don't understand something. Those are all essential skills when using English in a professional setting.
Then we dove into the world of teamwork, how to communicate with your team, handle disagreements politely, and give and receive feedback. We also talked about how to deal with stress and support your teammates when things get challenging.
And finally, we talked about the importance of celebrating success and recognizing the hard work of your colleagues. Positive feedback and appreciation can really help create a strong, happy team.
So, whether you're just starting out in a new job or you've been working for a while, these tips will help you communicate more effectively in English. Just remember, it's all about being clear, polite, and professional.
Yes, and as you practice these skills, you'll find that your confidence will grow. Don't be afraid to make mistakes, that's how we all learn. And soon, you'll feel more comfortable using English in your job, whether you're speaking with co-workers, giving a presentation, or participating in a meeting.
We hope you've enjoyed this podcast and found it useful. Thank you so much for listening.
Yes, thank you, and if you found this helpful, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Share this podcast with your friends, family, or co-workers who are also learning English. The more people we can help, the better.
And remember, practice makes perfect. Keep practicing your English every day, and you'll see great improvement in no time. Thanks again for joining us.
Goodbye and good luck with your English learning journey.
Goodbye, everyone. Take care.